His name was once feared by tumors and revered by patients. Dr. Arthur Mendez, cardiovascular surgeon, university professor, international speaker. For 2 decades, the white coat was more than just a uniform, it was armor. He operated with the precision of an artist, saving lives like someone writing poetry with a scalpel. On the patient charts of an elite hospital in Sao Paulo, next to his name, it read in bold capital letters, "Trust." And people did trust him. But life, as fragile as the hearts he used to mend, turned the scalpel against him. It all started with the sharp sound of brakes, a muffled scream, and time freezing in place. It was a Tuesday when his 8-year-old daughter, Ana Luisa, was hit by a car on her way to school. The news reached him in the middle of a surgery. When he finished, the look on his team's faces said it all. She didn't make it. The heart of a father, even one who specializes in hearts, is not trained to deal with that kind of failure. From grief, a chasm opened. His marriage, already quietly crumbling, collapsed. His wife left, taking with her the last pieces of a life that once made sense. Arthur threw himself into his work, trying to operate to forget, to numb the pain. But fate, cruel and silent, had one more blow to deliver. An anonymous tip accused him of medical negligence. A patient had died after a complicated surgery, and the grieving family, searching for someone to blame, found Arthur's face. The hospital, afraid of media backlash, temporarily suspended him. Colleagues stayed silent. The accusation made headlines. His medical license was suspended pending investigation. Arthur never had the chance to prove that the complication was unavoidable. Within weeks, he lost his position, his reputation, and his income. No job. No family. No anchor. He sold his car. Then the apartment. He tried to survive doing odd jobs, but the fame that once lifted him now condemned him. Doors closed with the same coldness he had seen in ICUs. And then he disappeared. No one saw the exact moment the white coat became a dirty shirt. No one noticed when expensive shoes were replaced by worn-out flip-flops. When the leather briefcase turned into a plastic bag. When Arthur reappeared, he was no longer Doctor. He was just another man among many, sleeping under the overpass, asking for coffee at the entrance of a dive bar. Most people who passed by him on the street would never imagine that this unshaven man, smelling of rain and sweat, had once saved hundreds of lives. A few noticed something different in his eyes, a strange clarity almost out of place. But to most, he was just another forgotten face in the invisible crowd. Arthur, however, still carried something the streets hadn't managed to steal, the instinct to heal. He didn't beg for money. He asked for food. And even when he got less than enough, he shared it with others who had even less. He helped other homeless people with wounds, explained symptoms, gave advice. When the cold set in, he lit fires carefully, making sure no one got burned. He was, unintentionally, a doctor without a coat, without a hospital, but still a doctor. The world had forgotten him. But somehow he hadn't forgotten who he was. Until one ordinary day, a cloudy Saturday in the city center, brought an unexpected chance to remind the world who Arthur Mendez truly was. And it all began at the door of a restaurant. It was late afternoon, and the smell of grilled meat drifted through the cracks of the French restaurant on the corner of Avenida São João. Inside, dishes cost more than Arthur could hope to gather in weeks. It was one of the few places that hadn't yet chased him away with harsh words. He stood silently by the entrance, holding a piece of cardboard with shaky letters. "I'm hungry. Any help is welcome. God bless." It was a quiet strategy, no shouting, almost invisible. Sometimes he got leftovers in styrofoam containers. Sometimes nothing. But that afternoon something felt different. A restlessness. As if something was about to happen. Inside, the atmosphere buzzed, well-dressed people, muffled laughter, clinking glasses. Outside, Arthur simply observed. The wind cut through his thin, second-hand jacket like a razor. He shrank into it, trying to stay warm. Then he saw a man stumble out of the restaurant, clutching his chest. A middle-aged man in a tailored suit, sweat beading on his face. He leaned against the wall, struggling to breathe. Arthur narrowed his eyes. He recognized the signs, the imbalance, the pallor, the hand over the sternum. The man took 2 more steps and collapsed with a dull thud. Screams. Chaos. A woman ran to his side and knelt. Other patrons came out, filming with their phones. A waiter was already calling emergency services. Arthur didn't hesitate. He dropped the cardboard and rushed forward. The man's body was convulsing. Shallow, rapid breathing. Eyes rolling back. Arthur instantly recognized the signs of a heart attack, possibly with arrhythmia. A minute longer and it could be fatal. "Move aside, please," he shouted with authority. "I'm a doctor. Let me help." But his appearance alone was enough to raise suspicion. A security guard stepped in front of him, arms outstretched. "Back off, man. Don't touch the customer. I'm a doctor. He's going to die if no one acts now." Arthur insisted. "You stink, bro, stay back. We called an ambulance. Let the Real professionals handle it." Arthur clenched his fists. He knew that every second loss could mean brain death. The crowd hesitated. Many looked at him with suspicion. Others kept filming. One man recorded up close, muttering, "Look at this, a homeless guy trying to play doctor." Until a woman's voice cut through the noise. "He's right. This man needs help now." She was a nurse, a customer from the restaurant, kneeling beside the body. She looked at Arthur. "If you really are a doctor, tell me what to do." "He's in fibrillation. We need to elevate him, clear his airway, apply chest compressions and monitor consciousness. If you have a thick pen, I need to improvise an airway. He's going into arrest." The nurse didn't hesitate. "Get out of his way. Let the man work." Reluctantly, the guard stepped aside. Arthur knelt, locked eyes with the man, and with steady hands, the same hands that once sliced through living tissue in operating rooms, he began to work. His instincts kicked in like lightning. He breathed fast, but every move was precise. He pressed into the man's chest with strength and rhythm, gave rescue breaths, checked for a pulse, asked for a lighter, a pocket knife, and a pen cap. Using them, he improvised an airway. The man coughed, then took a deeper breath. Sirens. The ambulance arrived. Paramedics were surprised to find the patient already stabilized. One of them recognized Arthur. "Dr. Mendez? Is that you?" Arthur just nodded, exhausted. The paramedic looked at his partner. "He saved this man's life. In that condition. I don't even know how." The man was taken to the hospital with stable vital signs. Arthur stayed behind, sitting on the curb, catching his breath. The people around didn't know what to say. For the first time in years, he wasn't invisible. Someone started clapping. Another person stepped closer, filming and saying, "This man saved a life and was almost stopped just because he looked homeless. This is real. This is Brazil." Arthur picked up the cardboard from the ground, stood slowly and walked away. But the footage didn't stay there. That night, the video went viral. And the name Arthur Mendez returned to social media, not as a scandal but as a hero. Among the thousands of comments, one stood out. "The man he saved is my father. If anyone knows how to find this doctor, please reach out. He saved the life of federal judge Enrique Matter. And this will not go unrewarded." Arthur didn't know it yet, but fate was about to return something he thought he had lost forever. Justice. The video lasted less than 2 minutes. But 1 minute and 47 seconds was all it took to turn Brazil upside down. In the footage, a man with a humble appearance, worn-out clothes and messy hair, is seen kneeling on the ground, performing resuscitation maneuvers on another man who had collapsed. In the background, there are screams, confusion, and a voice saying, "This guy saved the judge, and they almost didn't let him help because they thought he was just another homeless man." In the corner of the video, Arthur's face. Dirty, yes, but calm, focused, as if time had frozen around him, and the only thing that mattered was the faint pulse of the man fighting for his life. Just like in the old days of the operating room, where the sound of a heart monitor mattered more than any voice. By the next morning, the video was trending on X, formerly Twitter, viral on Instagram, and circulating in countless WhatsApp groups. News sites, morning shows, and radio stations all asked the same question. Who is the mystery doctor who saved a judge on the street? But Arthur knew nothing about any of it. He had spent the night under the same awning where he'd been sleeping for months, using cardboard to shield himself from the cold. He slept poorly as always, but with a different kind of exhaustion this time. The good kind. The kind that comes after doing the right thing. Early in the morning, he was awakened by the sound of hurried footsteps. 3 men in suits and a woman were looking for him. One of them introduced himself. "Dr. Arthur Mendez?" He hesitated. The title still felt strange. "Yes, that's me. We're part of Judge Enrique Matter's team. He asked us to find you as quickly as possible. He's in the hospital but stable. And incredibly grateful." Arthur stood up, unsure of what to say. The woman offered him a clean coat, which he initially refused out of embarrassment. But after some insistence, he accepted it. They took him to a modest hotel. A hot shower, new clothes, and a full meal. The silence of the room felt suffocating. It was the first time in years he'd seen himself clean in a mirror. There were new wrinkles, deep under-eye circles. But the eyes, The eyes were still his. Hours later, he was taken to the private hospital where Judge Enrique Matter was recovering. His arrival caused a stir. Nurses, doctors, and patients stared in surprise. Some whispered. The video's images were still fresh in everyone's minds. In the room, Enrique greeted him with a smile and tearful eyes. He had 4 tubes in his arm and an oxygen tube in his nose, but he extended his hand firmly. You saved my life. And you saved me twice. Once from a heart attack and once from ignorance. If it weren't for you, I'd be dead. Arthur tried to smile, but the words caught in his throat. I just did what any doctor would do. But it wasn't just any doctor. It was you. And that needs to be made right. And so began the second part of the turning point. The judge ordered his team to investigate Arthur Mendez's past. What they found was shocking. The accusation that had destroyed his career was based on a falsified report, manipulated by internal interests at the hospital at the time. The patient who died had undergone surgery with extremely high risk and had signed a waiver acknowledging it. The family had been influenced by a lawyer chasing a big payout. And more, Arthur had been used as a scapegoat to protect the institution's image. You were betrayed, doctor. But that ends now, said the judge. Within 72 hours, an online movement had gathered thousands of signatures calling for Arthur's medical license to be reinstated. Former patients began sharing emotional testimonials. Investigative journalists dug deep into the old case. TV programs invited him for interviews. But Arthur declined them all. I don't want fame. I just want to go back to doing what I was born to do. The medical council reopened the case. In a swift and symbolic hearing, his license was reinstated. That same day, 4 private hospitals offered him positions. NGOs reached out asking for voluntary medical support. And the most unexpected of all, the University of Sao Paulo Medical School, where Arthur once taught, invited him back as a guest lecturer to speak on ethics, humanized medicine, and emotional resilience. But Arthur turned down almost everything, except one offer. He agreed to serve as a volunteer doctor in a city-run program that provided healthcare to the homeless. There, among those who would understand him better than anyone, he put the white coat back on. Not as pristine as before, but now sewn with invisible scars. A coat stained with humanity. A reporter asked him, "What made you step in even after being treated like you were nothing?" Arthur smiled. For the first time without sadness. Because even when the world forgot I was a doctor, my heart didn't. 2 weeks after the incident at the restaurant, Arthur Mendez walked slowly along the same sidewalk where, not long ago, he was just another forgotten figure among the concrete. Now people greeted him. Some asked for photos. Others simply smiled with respect. The kind of respect that can't be bought or demanded, it's earned. But Arthur didn't feel like a hero. He didn't sleep in 5-star hotels. He didn't wear luxury watches. He had turned down invitations to reality shows and refused to become the face of a health insurance campaign, despite the offers. He slept in a small room, offered by a former student who now coordinated an NGO. In his closet, 2 shirts, a new white coat, and the same old flip-flops, which he insisted on keeping as a reminder of the ground he once walked. By day, he worked with the street clinic program, going with other professionals to the city's most vulnerable areas to provide medical care. He carried a backpack with a stethoscope, basic medications, and bandages, but what he gave out most was listening. And that, perhaps, was worth more than any prescription. Arthur knew these people. He knew many of their pains didn't show up in lab tests. He understood how abandonment seeps into the bones, how silence eats away at the stomach. He knew that before you treat the body you must see the soul. Because he too had once been invisible. And it still hurt. One day during one of the visits he found a man lying on cardboard near a snack bar. He had a fever, was coughing up blood. Advanced tuberculosis. Arthur knelt, examined him, and called for help. But as he helped carry the man to the ambulance, he heard a faint voice. You're the doctor from the video, right? The one with the judge." Arthur smiled. "I'm just a doctor trying to do the right thing." The man coughed, gripping his hand. "Then you're one of us. And even so, you came back to help." That night, Arthur wrote in an old notebook, his handwriting shaky. "I was thrown down from the top, but I found meaning on the ground. The medicine I learned from books made me a technician. The medicine I learned on the streets made me human." In the following months the project grew. Donations increased. Young doctors began to volunteer, inspired by his story. Documentaries were produced. And even with the rising exposure, Arthur remained where he had always wanted to be, among the forgotten, saving those the world deemed lost causes. But the greatest turning point was yet to come. During a public health conference, an honorary award was announced. The auditorium fell silent. On stage, one of the country's most respected cardiologists held up an envelope and said, "This award goes to someone who reminded us of the true meaning of medicine. Someone who saved lives even when his own seemed broken. Who faced prejudice and responded with care. A man who lost everything and still chose to heal. Please welcome to the stage, Dr. Arthur Mendez." The applause began softly, then louder, then a full standing ovation. Arthur walked to the stage, eyes brimming with tears. He accepted the simple trophy, made of recycled wood, smiled, and standing before dozens of doctors, journalists, and students, he said, "They accused me of negligence but never of giving up. I'm not a miracle. I'm just proof that no one falls so far they can't rise again. Sometimes what looks like the end is just a new white coat waiting for you." Silence. Then tears. Then applause that seemed to never end.